It's 3 a.m. You're lying in bed, exhausted, but your mind won't stop. Thoughts crash into each other like waves in a storm. Tomorrow's meeting, that awkward conversation from 5 years ago, bills to pay, dreams unfulfilled, that thing you should have said differently. Sound familiar? What if I told you that this mental chaos you're experiencing isn't a modern problem? Buddhist monks have been dealing with the monkey mind for over 2,500 years. And more importantly, they've discovered a way to tame it. Not through force, not through distraction, but through understanding its very nature. Today, we're going to explore ancient wisdom that can transform your restless mind into a source of peace, starting with a story that has guided seekers for centuries. Part 1: The Monkey Mind, Understanding Mental Suffering. The Buddha and the Restless Monk. There was once a young monk who came to the Buddha in great distress. "Master," he said, "I came here for peace, but my mind is more chaotic than ever. The harder I try to meditate, the louder my thoughts become. I'm thinking about my family, my past mistakes, what I'll eat tomorrow, everything except enlightenment. Maybe I'm not cut out for this path." The Buddha smiled gently. "Tell me," he asked, "if you were trying to catch a monkey, would you chase it through the trees?" "No, Master. That would be impossible. The monkey is too quick, too clever." "Then how would you catch it?" The monk thought carefully. "I suppose I would place a jar with a narrow neck and put a banana inside. The monkey would reach in, grab the banana, and be unable to pull its fist out while holding it." "And what traps the monkey?" the Buddha asked. "Its own grasping. It could be free instantly if it just let go of the banana." The Buddha nodded. "Your mind is like that monkey, and your thoughts are like the banana. The harder you grasp at controlling them, the more trapped you become. But also like the monkey, your freedom is always just one release away." This teaching reveals a profound truth. Our suffering doesn't come from having thoughts, it comes from our relationship with those thoughts. The modern monkey mind epidemic. Consider Jennifer, a marketing executive struggling with chronic insomnia. She described her predicament: "My mind is broken. I've tried everything: sleeping pills, white noise, counting sheep. But the moment my head hits the pillow, my brain becomes a Hollywood director, creating disaster movies about my life." Jennifer's phone showed she averaged 147 notifications per day. She consumed roughly 4 hours of social media, responded to emails within minutes, and prided herself on multitasking. Her mind hadn't suddenly become restless, she had trained it to be in constant motion. Think about our daily reality. We wake up to alarm notifications, check multiple apps before our feet hit the floor, consume news while brushing our teeth, listen to podcasts while commuting, eat lunch while working, and fall asleep scrolling. We've created a culture that treats stillness as laziness and constant stimulation as productivity. Is it any wonder our minds won't stop racing? We've trained them to be Formula One race cars, then we're surprised when they won't idle quietly in the garage at night. Part 2: The Nature of Suffering, Why We Can't Find Peace. The Story of the Two Arrows. The Buddha once asked his disciples, "If you were shot with an arrow, would it hurt?" "Of course, Master," they replied. "And if you were immediately shot with a second arrow in the same spot, would it hurt more?" "Much more." In life, the Buddha explained, we cannot always avoid the first arrow, the inevitable pains of existence. But the second arrow? That's optional. That's the suffering we create through our resistance, our mental elaboration, our refusal to accept what is. How we shoot ourselves with second arrows. Consider Michael, whose company downsized and laid him off. That's the first arrow, job loss. Painful, but finite. But then came the barrage of second arrows. I'm a failure. I should have seen this coming. I'll never find another job this good. Everyone will think I'm incompetent. My kids will be ashamed of me. I'm too old to start over. The economy is ruined. Life is unfair. The job loss was a single event, but Michael's mind turned it into an endless source of suffering. He spent months paralyzed not by unemployment, but by the stories he told himself about unemployment. Buddhism teaches that pain is inevitable. We will face loss, illness, aging, and death. But suffering? Suffering is what we add to pain through our mental reactions. And unlike pain, suffering is optional. Part 3, Understanding Impermanence, the Key to Freedom. The Zen Master's Garden. A wealthy merchant visited a famous Zen master, hoping to find peace. The master led him to a beautiful garden where cherry blossoms were in full bloom. Magnificent, the merchant exclaimed. These flowers are perfect. Yes, agreed the master. And in 3 days, they'll all be gone. The merchant's face fell. How can you enjoy them, knowing they'll die so soon? The master picked up a fallen petal. I enjoy them more because they're temporary. If these blossoms lasted forever, would we even notice them after a while? Their impermanence makes them precious. Every moment with them is a gift that won't come again. But doesn't it make you sad, knowing everything ends? The master smiled. Does knowing a movie will end ruin your enjoyment of it? Does knowing a meal will be finished make it less delicious? Or does it make you more present, more appreciative? The merchant began to understand. So suffering comes not from things ending, but from wishing they wouldn't. Now, said the master, you're beginning to see impermanence in daily life. Everything in your life is temporary. Your current job, your present home, your physical appearance, your relationships in their current form, even your problems, all temporary. Sarah discovered this truth during her divorce proceedings. For months, she was consumed with bitterness. Her marriage of 15 years was ending, and she saw it as a failure, a waste. Then her therapist asked her a simple question: were those 15 years worthless because they're ending? Sarah thought about her 2 children, born from that marriage. The personal growth she'd experienced. The good years before things went wrong. The lessons learned, even from the difficulties. Her therapist offered this perspective: a flower isn't a failure because it wilts. Your marriage had its season. It bloomed, it served its purpose, and now it's transforming into something else. Fighting against this natural cycle is what's causing your suffering, not the change itself. When Sarah accepted the impermanence of her marriage, that it was always going to end, either through divorce or death, she found peace. Not happiness about the divorce, but peace with life's natural flow. Part 4, The Practice of Non-Attachment. The 2 Monks and the River. 2 monks were walking when they came upon a beautiful woman struggling to cross a muddy road. Without hesitation, the older monk picked her up and carried her across. The younger monk was shocked. They had vows to avoid contact with women. For hours, the younger monk stewed in silence. Finally, he burst out, "How could you touch that woman? We have vows." The older monk replied calmly, "I put her down hours ago. You're still carrying her." This story illustrates attachment perfectly. The problem wasn't the action, it was the mental grasping that followed. Modern attachments that create suffering. We're not typically attached to people we carry across roads, but we're attached to countless other things. Digital attachment. Tom refreshes his Instagram post every 30 seconds, watching the likes. His mood rises and falls with each number change. He's given strangers on the internet control over his emotional state. Identity attachment. Lisa was known as the runner. 5 marathons, countless medals, her entire social life revolved around running. When a knee injury ended her running career, she didn't just lose an activity, she lost her sense of self. She suffered not from the injury, but from her attachment to a single identity. Outcome attachment. David planned the perfect proposal, sunset beach, photographer hidden, ring in the champagne. But it rained. The restaurant lost its reservation. The photographer cancelled. David was so attached to his plan that he missed the beauty of what actually happened. His girlfriend saying yes in their car, laughing through tears as rain pounded the windshield, calling it perfectly imperfect. Non-attachment doesn't mean not caring. It means caring without clinging. It means holding everything, plans, identities, relationships, like you'd hold water in your cupped hands. Gently, appreciatively, but ready to let it flow when it's time. Finding peace in these words. Subscribe to Buddha Coha for weekly wisdom that transforms daily life. Part 5. Cultivating Patience in an Instant World. The story of the Chinese bamboo. A teacher gave his student a bamboo seed. Plant this and water it daily. It will teach you everything about patience. The student planted the seed and watered it faithfully. First year, nothing. Second year, nothing. Third year, still nothing. Other students mocked him. You're watering dirt. Fourth year, nothing. The student questioned everything but continued watering. Fifth year, suddenly, the bamboo shot up 80 feet in 6 weeks. Was the bamboo doing nothing for 4 years? The teacher asked. No, the student realized. It was growing roots. Without those years of invisible growth underground, it couldn't support such height. And so it is with all important things in life, the teacher said. Transformation happens long before you see results. The impatience crisis. We live in an age where 2-day shipping feels slow. Where buffering for 5 seconds causes rage. We abandon websites that take 3 seconds to load. This conditioning has made us catastrophically impatient with things that actually matter, healing trauma, building relationships, developing skills, finding purpose. We want Amazon Prime delivery for inner peace. Rachel started therapy expecting quick fixes. After 2 sessions without a breakthrough, she was ready to quit. This isn't working, she complained. Her therapist posed a question. How long did it take to develop these patterns? My whole life, I guess. 35 years. And you expect to undo 35 years of conditioning in 2 hours? Rachel laughed at the absurdity. She realized she was treating her mental health like a microwave dinner, expecting instant results from something that required slow cooking. Real growth happens on nature's timeline, not ours. A butterfly can't be rushed from its cocoon. A wine can't be hurried in its aging. Inner peace can't be achieved through impatience. Part 6. The Art of Acceptance. The Farmer's Horse. There's an ancient Taoist story that Buddhism adopted. A farmer's horse ran away. His neighbors said, "Such bad luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe. The horse returned, bringing wild horses. The neighbors said, "Such good luck." "Maybe," said the farmer. "His son broke his leg taming a wild horse." "Such bad luck." "Maybe." The army came recruiting, but passed over his injured son. "Such good luck." "Maybe." The farmer understood what we forget: we never know the full story while we're in the middle of it. What seems like a disaster might be protection. What seems like a blessing might be a burden. Acceptance means holding our judgments lightly, staying open to life's unfolding mystery. Radical acceptance in practice. When Amanda's husband left her for another woman, everyone expected her to be destroyed. But Amanda practiced something radical: acceptance without approval. She explained her approach: "I don't like this. I wouldn't choose this." But fighting reality is like trying to argue with gravity, exhausting and pointless. Instead of spending energy on resistance, "This shouldn't be happening," she used that energy for response: "Given that this is happening, what now?" She didn't bypass her grief, she felt it fully. But she didn't add suffering to her pain through resistance. She didn't waste months plotting revenge or imagining different outcomes. She accepted the reality and began building her new life from there. Amanda's insight was profound: acceptance isn't giving up. It's giving up the fight with reality so you can engage with what's actually possible. Part 7, Mindfulness, the Gateway to Peace. The Tea Master's Secret. A successful businessman visited a tea master, complaining about his stressful life. The master prepared tea in complete silence, every movement deliberate and graceful. Finally, the businessman burst out, "I came for wisdom about handling stress, not to watch you make tea." The master poured tea into the businessman's cup and his own. "Tell me," he said, "while you were watching me prepare tea, were you thinking about your stress?" "No. I was watching you make tea." "For those minutes, where did your stress go?" The businessman was puzzled. I don't know. It wasn't there." "I didn't take your stress away," the master said. "I didn't solve your problems. I simply showed you what happens when you're fully present. Your stress only exists when your mind is in the past or future. In the present moment, there is only what is, in this case, making tea." Practical mindfulness for busy lives. "I don't have time to meditate." This is what everyone says. But mindfulness isn't about adding meditation to your schedule, it's about being present with what you're already doing. Consider Mark, a busy surgeon who claimed he had no time for mindfulness. When asked how often he washed his hands, he replied, "Maybe 50 times a day." Perfect. That's 50 opportunities for mindfulness. Now, when Mark washes his hands, he's fully present, feeling the water temperature, watching the soap bubble, experiencing the simple act completely. Those 20 seconds, 50 times a day, become islands of peace in his chaotic day. You don't need a meditation cushion. Every daily activity can become a mindfulness practice. Brushing teeth, feel the bristles, taste the mint, hear the sound. Walking, feel your feet connecting with the earth, notice your breathing rhythm. Eating, actually taste your food instead of swallowing while scrolling. Waiting, instead of reaching for your phone, just be present with waiting. Part 8, The Middle Way Philosophy. The Buddha's Personal Discovery. Before enlightenment, Prince Siddhartha lived in extreme luxury, every pleasure available, shielded from all suffering. It didn't bring peace. Then he became an ascetic, starving himself until he could count his ribs, sleeping on thorns, practicing extreme self-denial. That didn't bring peace either. His awakening came when, near death from starvation, he accepted a bowl of rice pudding from a young girl. His fellow ascetics were horrified. He was giving in to comfort. But in that moment, the Buddha discovered the middle way. Not indulgence, not deprivation, but the wisdom to find balance. Living the middle way today. We swing between extremes. Diet strictly, then binge eat. Work obsessively, then burn out completely. Exercise frantically, then become sedentary. Save every penny, then spend recklessly. Consider Jessica's relationship with social media. First, she was addicted, checking every notification, posting constantly, measuring her worth in likes. Then, disgusted, she deleted everything, declared social media toxic, and isolated herself. Neither extreme worked. Addiction brought anxiety, complete avoidance brought isolation. The middle way meant using social media consciously, specific times, specific purposes, specific boundaries. Not demon, not savior, just a tool. The middle way asks, what serves you? What depletes you? Where's the balance between effort and ease, engagement and detachment, caring and clinging? Ready to transform your restless mind? Subscribe to Buddha Coha for practical wisdom that brings real peace. Part 9, Transforming Suffering Through Understanding. The Poison Arrow Parable. A man was shot with a poisoned arrow. As the doctor prepared to remove it, the man said, "Wait. First, tell me, who shot this arrow? What village was he from? What wood is the arrow made from? What bird provided the feathers?" The doctor replied, "If I answer all your questions before removing the arrow, you'll die." The Buddha used this story to show how we often focus on the wrong questions. Instead of asking, "Why do I suffer?" which leads to endless speculation, Buddhism asks, "How can I end this suffering?" which leads to practical action. From why to how. When Patricia's son died in a car accident, she tortured herself with why questions. Why him? Why now? Why did God allow this? Why didn't she stop him from driving that night? These questions had no answers that could bring peace. They only deepened her wound. A grief counselor introduced her to different questions. How can I honor his memory? How can I carry my love for him forward? How can I help others facing similar loss? These questions didn't eliminate her grief, but they transformed it from destructive to meaningful. She started a scholarship in her son's name. She volunteered with grieving parents. Her pain found purpose. Buddhism doesn't promise answers to why we suffer. It offers something better, a path through suffering. Part 10, Daily Practices for Mental Peace. Morning Practice, Setting the Day's Tone. Before you touch your phone, before the day's demands flood in, give yourself 5 minutes. 1. 3 conscious breaths. Feel yourself transitioning from sleep to wakefulness. Don't judge how you feel, just notice. 2. Body scan. Starting from your toes, briefly notice each part of your body. Not to change anything, just to inhabit your physical self. 3. Intention setting. Not goals, but qualities. Today, I practice patience. Today, I respond rather than react. Today, I notice beauty. This simple practice creates a buffer between you and the day's chaos. You're choosing how to meet the day rather than letting the day assault you. Throughout the day, the stop technique. When you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or reactive, stop what you're doing. T. Take a breath, or 3. O. Observe your inner state without judgment. P. Proceed with awareness. This takes 30 seconds but can prevent hours of suffering from reactive decisions. Evening practice, releasing the day. Before sleep, instead of scrolling through tomorrow's worries, 1. Acknowledge 3 things. What went well today? Include small things, a good cup of coffee, a smile from a stranger. 2. Release the day. Whatever happened today is now in the past. You cannot change it. Let it go like releasing a balloon into the sky. 3. Set down tomorrow. Tomorrow's problems are tomorrow's business. Tonight, your only job is to rest. Part 11. When the path feels impossible. The cracked pot story. A water bearer had 2 pots. One was perfect, the other had a crack. Every day, by the time he reached his master's house, the cracked pot had leaked half its water. The perfect pot was proud of its accomplishment. The cracked pot was ashamed of its imperfection. One day, it apologized to the water bearer. I'm so sorry. Because of my flaw, you only deliver half the water you carry. The water bearer smiled. Look at the path we walk. On the perfect pot's side, the path was bare. On the cracked pot's side, beautiful flowers bloomed. I knew about your crack, the bearer explained, so I planted seeds on your side of the path. Every day, you've watered them. Because of your flaw, we have these flowers to brighten our journey. Your cracks are not mistakes. We think we need to be perfect to find peace. We think we need to eliminate all negative thoughts, never feel anger, and always be calm. But Buddhism teaches that our imperfections are part of our path. Your anxiety teaches you compassion for others who struggle. Your anger shows you what you value. Your sadness connects you to the universal human experience. When Robert, a meditation teacher, admitted to his students that he still struggled with anxiety, he expected to lose credibility. Instead, his vulnerability made him more trustworthy. Students thought, if he can find peace despite anxiety, maybe I can too. Your struggles don't disqualify you from peace, they qualify you for compassion. Part 12. The Ripple Effect of Inner Peace. One candle lights many. The Buddha said, thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. When you find inner peace, you don't keep it, you become it. And everyone around you is affected. The transformation ripple. When Sandra began practicing mindfulness, she didn't preach to her family. She simply changed. She stopped reacting to her teenager's provocations. She listened to her husband without mentally preparing rebuttals. She was present at dinner instead of mentally at work. Her family noticed. Without being told, her teenager began taking deeper breaths when frustrated. Her husband started putting his phone down during conversations. Her younger child began saying, I need a calm down minute, instead of having meltdowns. Sandra didn't teach them mindfulness. She became mindful, and they caught it like catching warmth from a fire. Your peace is not just for you. In a world of anxiety and chaos, your calm becomes a gift to everyone you meet. The journey begins now. The essential truth. Here's what the Buddha discovered under the Bodhi tree. Suffering is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Your restless mind is not broken, it's just untrained. Peace is not somewhere else, it's right here, waiting beneath the mental noise. You don't need to go to a monastery. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need to be someone different. You need to understand the nature of your own mind and work with it skillfully. The path forward. Start small. One conscious breath. One mindful step. One moment of acceptance. Don't try to revolutionize your life overnight. That's just another form of impatience. Remember, you're not trying to stop your thoughts. You're changing your relationship with them. You're not eliminating suffering. You're understanding its causes and choosing differently. Your next step. Right now, in this moment, take 3 deep breaths. Feel your body in the chair. Notice the sounds around you. This is mindfulness. This is the beginning. The Buddha's last words were, "Work out your own salvation with diligence." No one can walk this path for you, but you don't walk alone. Millions have walked it before you. Millions walk it with you now. The promise and the practice. Buddhism doesn't promise you a life without problems. It promises you a way to find peace within problems. It doesn't offer escape from the human condition. It offers a way to be fully human with grace. Your monkey mind will still chatter, but you'll learn to watch it with amusement rather than frustration. Difficult things will still happen, but you'll meet them with wisdom rather than reactivity. Life will still be uncertain, but you'll dance with uncertainty rather than fight it. Final reflection. As you go forward from this moment, remember, every breath is a chance to begin again. Every moment is an opportunity to choose peace over chaos, acceptance over resistance, love over fear. The racing mind that brought you here, seeking answers. It's not your enemy. It's the very thing that will teach you stillness. Your suffering is not punishment, it's the doorway to awakening. The path to inner silence doesn't require your mind to stop. It requires you to stop fighting with your mind. And that peace you're seeking, it's not in some future moment when everything is perfect. It's available right now, in this imperfect moment, exactly as you are. If this resonated with you, subscribe to Buddha Coha. Share this with someone whose mind needs peace. Together, we can create islands of calm in an ocean of chaos. Remember, your peace matters, not just for you, but for our world. Until next time, may you find stillness in motion, silence in noise, and peace in the midst of it all. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Thank you for walking this path together today. May you be at peace.